Hello, my name's CrystalDave. I make HIPPY BLING. Here's some examples of my work. I generally make natural crystals, which are aquamarines, fossils and quartz crystals. This is a short video showing you how I make HIPPY BLING. I have a collection of crystals and ammonites that I bought in South Africa, which I choose through. I decided that I'm going to do this one today. This crystal is an amethyst crystal, Bruntberg from Namibia. The top of it is chipped from where it was mined. So I'm just going to have to straighten the top up. To straighten the top of the crystal, we need a diamond tipped saw with a very thin blade. This is how it works. Now we've cut the top off the crystal, we give it a quick wipe of all the oils and excess material. We sit it there. Then we were going to set it with sterling silver. This is the sterling silver sheet that I use. So first of all, we get the crystal and we look at it and we decide using the calipers how far we want the band to fit down the crystal. So we wind these up, thinking the band should be about 10 millimeters. Next, we measure the circumference of the crystal. We get a bit of string. Now we have the circumference, we can measure out the length of the silver and mark it so we know how long the band's got to be. Set the distance, we put this edge on here and run it all the way down the silver to the mark. Do that twice. Then we can pick off the protective layer. Now we know where our band's got to be, we have to cut it. We use a piercing saw. This is how we do it. Very carefully, following the line. Here's the piece of metal, the strip. We peel back the protective layer, hold it in the tongs, and we warm it with the blowtorch. This softens the metal, allowing it to wrap around the crystal easy. Half the silver across the largest joint of the crystal and we hold it in place. And then we bend the silver round the crystal. Once we have the band wrapped round the crystal, we can now make the join. With a pair of pliers, we push the edge of the crystal tight. We now have to cut this piece of metal so to solder it to this piece. Then we solder it over here. We get the tweezers, we hold the silver ring in the tweezers. We generally put 2 lines across like that. Then we get the blowtorch and we warm it up. Until we can see the solder until it does that. It melts, blobs and liquefies. Once I've cooled it, I take it out and we look. And tap with a mallet very lightly. Once we have our band and happy it fits the crystal, we rub down the top, which cleans up the surface. We now get another piece for the top. We lay the silver onto the old pair of tweezers. This is to lift the silver from the rock so that the heat does not transfer. We put some paste inside the ring. We warm this until the solder melts. Now it's cooled down, we've soldered the 2 together. We need to cut the access with the piercing saw. This is how we do it. Once we've used the piercing saw, we just use sandpaper just to tidy up the edges. The base of the mount fits lovely. Now this is how we make the bail. It should be there. Right, so here we have the strip for the bail. Bend it round the file. We'll hold it in the tweezers. Squeeze the joint as tight as possible. Apply a small amount of solder in the joint. We then use warm using the blowtorch. Now we have the bail. We have to cut the edge to make it nice and straight. Now we've removed the excess, we tidy this edge up with a piece of sandpaper. Now we have the bail, we place it on the cap, we hold the bail with the tweezers. Apply a small amount of solder placed around the bail. We solder this in position. On the last soldering, we drop it straight into cold water, which hardens the metals. We now have to anneal this to get rid of all the corrosion. Now we've annealed it, we've got rid of all the corrosion. It's time to polish this on the wheel. Now we've polished it and cleaned it, we poke a piece of cord through the bail. And this fits lovely. This will now be tumbled and glued on in place. That's what I call hippie bling.